Now things are about to get a bit more complex. The diagram on the right is going to be a CEO of a party promotion service. Okay, and the diagram on the left is going to be the host of these parties. Number one is the 10th house. For those who don't know, the 10th house is the house of career inside of the zodiac wheel. Now, the 10th house inside of the diagram on the left is Leo. The 10th house on the diagram on the right side is Gemini. So the ruling planet of Leo is the sun, and the ruling planet of Gemini is Mercury. Now, we want to know where these planets are placed so we can discern how powerful they are in regards to the 10th house. So for the diagram on the left, who is the host of these parties, is you can find their sun, which is the ruling planet of Leo, inside of the 5th house of Pisces, which means there's not a specific emphasis that will make a difference between whether it's easy to express those characteristics inside of the 10th house or not. Okay, because it's not exalted, it's not dignified, it's not detrimented, and it doesn't fall. However, the diagram on the right, the ruling planet of Gemini is Mercury and is placed in the 7th house of Pisces. This planet actually falls inside of the house, inside of the sign of Pisces. Okay, so this person will not freely express how they discern and determine relationships and partnerships. This could be romantic and this can be business as well. Okay, it does not mean that they won't express them or not capable of expressing them. It means that they won't freely express them. Okay, moving right along. Number two. Well, first, let me cover the characteristics of the 10th house, right? So the 10th house on the diagram on the left, we have Leo, which deals with creativity. It deals with leisure. It deals with entertainment. It deals with pleasurable activities, dealings with the body, dealings with sports, speculative ideas. Those are the characteristics of Leo and its place inside of the 10th house. So they can emphasize these characteristics, these attributes inside of this house, then they are good to go, right? And which makes this a good placement, although it's in opposition, because Sun is inside of the 5th house, the ruling planet of Leo. The 5th house is based upon, the same attributes that Leo carries, because that's the natural placement of Leo. All right. So now let's go into the Gemini inside of the 10th house of career. So this person is going to be quick-witted, intelligent, being able to look at things, piece things together quickly. They're going to have a diversified mindset. So they're going to look at things, a myriad of different things, and put them together at once. So diversified portfolios, things of that nature. Any communicating type of abilities will excel, especially in the communication arts type of industry. Okay, so now we're going to move into number two, which is the moon in the natal chart. You want to know where the moon is placed inside of an individual, because it tells about that person's perception and how they will be able to deal with the things that they perceive. Okay, so the moon, I forgot to add it inside the diagram on the left. However, I do know it's inside of Cancer. So this person perceives, they will have a mentality that is based on nurturing, things that are domestic. The house will be taken care of. In fact, it will look lavish at that. They will care. They will show care and concern about the people who are close to them. And they will go all out for the people that they care about. So, just keep that in mind when you're dealing with a person who is a host of a party, right? So you can already see where I'm going with this. There also may be the ability to mood swing or change perceptions quickly as well. All right. So keep that in mind when you're being compatible with a Gemini in a 10th house who also has the ability to change ideas and change attitudes swiftly. Okay, so now the moon inside of the diagram on the right is placed inside of Virgo. So this person is going to have an analytical eye, which complements the quick-witted ability to look at different things inside of Gemini in the 10th house. They're going to be critical about things, and whether they are harsh about it or doing it to butter you up, you can bet that it's going to be out of care and concern. It will be anal. It will lack emotion more than likely, because people with moon inside of Virgo basically assess how they are supposed to feel about things instead of immediately reacting to them based on emotion. Okay, so Moving right along, we go into number 3, which is the stellium. A stellium is the area of the zodiac chart which possesses the most planetary action. So the diagram on the left, the stellium will be in that 5th house of Pisces, and the stellium on the right diagram will be inside of the 12th house of Virgo. So what that means is the characteristics that are found inside of the 5th house for the diagram on the left are amplified. Okay, and even more due to the types of planets that are there. So you have dark moon Lilith, you have the sun, and you have Mercury there. So you can expect to see those aspects combined with each other to have an effect inside the 5th house. The reason why I believe this to be important is because those are like where your super talents are, because there's so much influence there. So being able to articulate that inside of the 10th house and career, to me, is important. For the diagram on the left, I believe this will be simple because they have the ruling planet there. They have Mercury there, which is to be able to communicate this. And dark moon Lilith, it's kind of tricky. This will definitely need a whole nother video to speak about dark moon Lilith, so I'm not going to go into depth about that. The diagram on the left has a stellium inside of the 12th house of Virgo. So we want to look at characteristics that have to do with self-renewal, also self-undoing, secret enemies, confidential information, private matters. So this is like a government type of, how you get classified information that you can only, put certain information public and the rest of it has to keep classified, and you can only communicate that with people within a certain level. You have to get clearance to get this type of information. This is the type of individual we're dealing with here. Now, can this be articulated inside of the 10th house of career, or are they just blabbermouth? Can they keep things under wraps? So like I said before, they won't freely express it. So this definitely complements that energy inside of the 7th house and that through the 12th house, because they have this stellium of secrecy inside of the 12th house. Okay. Moving right along, does the 2nd house reflect the stellium, hemisphere, and quadrant? And the reason why I'm saying 2nd house is because when you're dealing with career, you want to know the overall financial attitude of the people involved. Okay, so you want to know, are you a giver? Are you a receiver? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? Are you thrifty? Are you a budgeter? Do you like other people's money, or do you like utilizing your own money? What is your resource-based value? Okay, these are the things that we want to know, and can they be emphasized inside of the 10th house? Well, the reason I base this on the stellium, hemisphere, and quadrant is because this is where most of the planetary activity is going to be. So you can weigh in and bet more or gauge more that these attributes will be emphasized inside of the 10th house. So let's deal with the diagram on the left when we say, okay, we're dealing with creativity, we're dealing with leisure, we're dealing with entertainment, we're dealing with matters of the body, speculative ideas. Is this person in the stock market, for example? Does this person spend time in casinos? Does this person deal with matters of, or financially deal with matters that are based on the 2nd quadrant in the diagram on the left? And the 2nd quadrant is about being self-directed, but also receptive to others. Okay, and the Western Hemisphere means that they focus on other people, but are responsive to their wants and needs at the same time. So mind you, I said that this person is going to be the host of parties, and with the Cancer moon. So this person is going to be walking around, fluffing pillows, greeting you at the door, seating you. Hey, how you doing? What drinks will you have? Here goes the menu for the restaurant foods. This is the person that's going to be doing all of this. So you got to see, is their financial attitude reflecting those attributes? Okay, so as it says, they're self-directed. So this person may go and create their own ideas for the party events, because remember, there's going to be a filter to get to the guy or the gal that's on the right. So it's not going to be easy to contact this person. So the person who's the host, they have to be self-directed. They have to say, okay, they come up with the themes to the parties. We're going to do a Western reenactment of the 18th century in America, and we're going to have a costume party based upon that. So they may come up with the idea. They will be receptive to others by pitching it to the regular party goers that party there and say, yo, what do you think about this idea? Get the feedback, create the flyers. They may pay for the flyers themselves, print them up themselves? How is their financial attitude based upon this? Are they giving out 20% discounts to the people who come to two or more parties a month? So the diagram on the right deals with the stellium in the 12th house, dealing with private matters. So like I said, the private parties and things of that nature. This person may want to throw private parties for, certain particular groups, So how do they reflect that inside of the 10th house? How is their overall attitude financially going about that? Because it's like, public parties you would want to emphasize a lot of marketing and promotion, right? However, private parties, you want to be discreet about it. So it may be an email service to a particular club that is, the email file may be categorized, archived somewhere apart from the rest of the relationships inside of the email database, right? So you want to see if it reflects their second quadrant in their hemisphere, which happens to be the fourth quadrant, which is self-motivated, ambitious, and values teamwork. So, like I said, that's moreover of why this diagram on the right is the CEO personality, because they're going to be a self-starter, which entrepreneurs, you have to be self-started. You have to be self-motivated. You have to push yourself and be able to carry yourself when no one else will be able to. In the Eastern hemisphere, which focuses on self-desires and self-reliant, as I said, both the hemisphere and the quadrant complement each other. So is this person capable of expressing their financial attitude in this regard? Okay, so that means this person is probably going to be stingy. They're probably going to have a good idea of how to handle money, and they're not going to be generous with it because they have to have backup finances for if something goes wrong, or they have to pay for insurance, they have to have the lawyer fees paid and things of that nature. So this person is not going to be a giver, so to say. Okay, because they're so self-reliant, and you got a stellium in the 12th house, which is self-renewal, self-undoing, self-intuition, self-reflection, self-talk, a lot of self going on. This person on the right diagram is going to be selfish. Okay, so the financial attitude has to reflect that. And lastly, I want to know if the North Node is reflected inside of the 10th house. See, the North Node, which is on the diagram on the left, is Sagittarius inside of the 2nd house. North Node on the right is Leo inside of the 11th house. The reason why this is very important to me is because the North Node is where you're going. The South Node is where you've been. The North Node is where you're going. And you're always going to be going towards the North Node. There's always going to be an extensive area inside of the North Node that you're going to be trying to reach. So is this person able to articulate higher education, travel principles, and a belief system inside of that 10th house? Do they believe what they're doing inside of this club by, promoting parties and making sure everybody's comfortable, making sure everybody is accommodated? Is it a belief of theirs that people should be happy, people should feel good, they are here to be entertained, and you will make sure? And for the diagram on the right, the North Node is inside of Leo. So this person's ability to network, because Leo is inside of the 11th house. So not only should they be able to network, they have to shine at doing it. And this does not necessarily mean that their network is going to be full of friends and full of close acquaintances. This means that their ability to expand just from knowing people alone and from communicating to them alone, because of the 10th house energy of Gemini, are they able to articulate this in a way that pertains to the 11th house, which is the building of networks? Very important, especially when you're building wealth. The 11th house is for gains. So this is going to be very important for this person on the diagram on the right. So although they are protecting information, they are private, and they have, confidential matters going on, they must be expressive inside of the 10th house when communicating to other people in some type of way. So this CEO should be shaking hands with power people behind the scenes and letting them know about the club that they have, letting them know about the different types of parties. It does not necessarily mean that they will be talking to everybody. And I know this sounds like some type of hierarchical standpoint for this diagram on the right. However, those are the attributes that this person carries. So that is the way they should be. Diagram on the left should be that person that should be nurturing. They should be that person who should be looking out for the well-being of everyone involved inside of this business.